Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. My name is Tommo, and welcome to my pre-race Chinwag for the 2024 Qatar Grand Prix. I'm enjoyed. I'm joined by my little sausage. My Minton boy decided to turn up for this stream. He thought he'd represent. How are we doing, everyone? Thank you all for joining me live here on YouTube. Tenmo, Lud, Joe, Dursey, Calentina, Tuomo, IBK, Ventaxi, Bro, Alex, Daniel, Tomato, Foon, Jozo, Freakazoid, and the rest of you. Thank you to everyone who's listening on all good audio only platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and the rest video version also available on Spotify, so check it out there if you can. And of course, as always, I'll be doing a Patreon exclusive live stream straight after this one, about 10 minutes after, 5-10 minutes, just to chat through whatever. So if you want to support me on Patreon, links are down in the description down below, patreon.com/TOMMO'F1. Lovely jubbly. Let's have a chat about round 23, where I've had to the graphic is a bit cursed because 23 written is too wide. It's the only round all year that's too wide for this graphic. But there you go. We're back in Qatar, back around the Losail circuit, which I've got to say, actually, you know what? I want to get the thoughts and feelings of people in the comments. What do you make of... I'm going to have to go hands-free on Minton, so be good, mate. Be good. What do you think of the Qatar street... it's not a street circuit. It's actually... It was a bike track, wasn't it, first and foremost? And it's on the F1 grid. Now, I know there's talk of moving the Qatar Grand Prix elsewhere, away from this track. Is it a small bang... Is it a mild clang? Mild clang. There you go. Bosh. Right. I've stuck that in the YouTube live poll. So let me know what you think. What your thoughts are of this Grand Prix track. It's obviously very flat. There's a lot of runoff. Obviously the temperature's a big factor, and we saw that last year. First Grand Prix for a long time where we've seen a driver retire through heat exhaustion. Logan Sargent felt that he had to put it in. He wasn't the only driver, to be fair, who was really struggling, and they have mandated changes to the car designs, haven't they? They've got there's a new homologated, something that can, bring cool air, not cool air necessarily, but more airflow into the cockpit where the drivers are sat. So Doha, I don't think much about this track at all, which is kind of ironic given your name. Yeah, I mean, look, it's... do I hate it as a circuit? No. Does it have a lot of character? No. There's not too much memorable from this. I mean, give me Istanbul any day of the week over this. I'm not going to lie. Come on, surely. Right, Istanbul's got so much character. It's kind of devoid of it. We do get all right racing, which, we saw in the sprint last year. It was pretty good. However, was that more down to the fact that a lot of the top teams split between the soft and the medium? Perhaps. Perhaps that is more the reason that it was a good sprint race last year. The race itself was okay. Obviously, the moment that I've captured for the image for this is Lewis looking on as everyone going past. Obviously, he started on the soft tyre, went aggressive off of the start, and crashed into George and ended his race very swiftly. He went for it, he went all in, and it didn't pay off. Almost Perez at Mexico-esque in a way. And obviously Piastri won his first ever race. It was a sprint race, but he won it in Qatar as well. Got his first win ahead of Lando, which obviously brought a big talking point afterwards. What can I say? But Oscar did a fantastic job in the sprint. Held on to position early doors, whereas Lando dropped like a stone at the start of the sprint. So, and then obviously Oscar recovered pretty well in the main race as well, didn't he, Minton? Oh, you're so cute. Look at how cute he is. He's so cute. If you're listening on audio-only platforms, or if you're listening on Spotify, the video version is also on Spotify. You can quickly look at your phone and look at how cute Minton is. Look at him. He's so cute. Good boy. We are overdue. You know what, Sterlo? Yeah, Oscar's definitely had a bit of a slump, hasn't he? By the standards that he's set, it's been a bit of a barren period for Oscar, and he was only marginally out-qualified by Lando in the race at Vegas, but then you've got Lando put a good 10 seconds on him, even if Oscar didn't get that 5-second penalty, which was harsh, but it's harsh but fair at the end of the day. It's one of them, and it's a bit of a goal line technology rule, right? If you're outside your pit box, you're outside your pit box. So don't be outside your pit box is the moral of that story. But yeah, so I mean, I've already talked about last time without actually showing the last time graphic. Obviously, Max Verstappen wrapped up his third world title after the sprint race at Qatar, and then won the main race just to rub it in. Just to rub it in. Obviously, 2023 was a very different season to this in terms of competitiveness, but it's kind of funny that, Max got it done. Max got it done at Qatar and could have got it done sooner, you'd think, but there you go. And more like 20. It was 20 seconds before Lando's pit stop. Was it? I'm sure it was like... oh, fair enough. It was a bigger gap than I thought. I thought it was like 16 seconds at the end. But then, of course, Lando did pit for fastest lap. So I don't know where I'm getting that from. Okay, yeah. So, like in the race, Lando very much dogged on Oscar, didn't he? Because didn't Lando try something with his car setup at the end that ended up working quite well? He got experimental with the setup at the end. Not that you can change much of the setup in your final stint, but he obviously did something. I don't know, it was a wing angle or whatever, and ended up, dunking quite heavily on Oscar. So fair play. Yeah. Qatar was way earlier in the year last time. True, Ventaxi, true, but still. Okay. Qatar is colder this year. Mercedes underdog again. Well, you say colder. How cold are we expecting it to be this weekend in Qatar? What's the weather in Doha? I mean, it's not crazy hot. It's still mid-20s by the looks of it, minimum. Well, that's 32 degrees, and it's going to go down to 24. Actually, to be fair, for the race weekend in Doha, anyway, it's highs of 24, lows of 18. So it's actually probably it's not an extremity. The problem is with Mercedes, it works at extremities. So there you go. I think it's probably a bit too. It's about 5 degrees in the UK at the minute. So I would call that hot. Okay, I would call that hot in the UK summer, exactly. But yeah, either way. What are you saying? What are you saying in the poll? 12% if you think banger, 50% small bang, 31% mild clang, 8% clanger. Yeah, I mean, relative to the other tracks on the calendar, it would probably go mild clang for me. But I can understand why half of you have given it a small bang, because it did give us a decent sprint, especially sprint last year. Especially sprint. Alex Albon P5 inbound. Nishant, what are you smoking? Because I want some of it, please. Thank you very much. Right, driver stand-ins. After 22 of 24 race weekends, of course, it is a sprint this weekend in Qatar, the final sprint of the season before the finale in Abu Dhabi. Max Verstappen has won the championship, 403 points. So the driver stand-ins kind of now just becomes irrelevant, really, doesn't it? It becomes pretty much irrelevant. There's no... Well, apart from... Was it that George and Lando were saying that Charles gets a bonus if he gets P2 in the driver standings? Apart from that, Verstappen should be in gold. You know what, Avkid? He should be in gold. I should have put him in gold, shouldn't I? You know what? I'm going to do that now, Avkid. I'm going to do that. I'm going to put Max in gold because he is champion, right? Fair enough. Max deserves to be in gold, right? Because he smashed it this year, absolutely. But yeah, apart from... There's no real reason to give any attention or credence to the driver standings unless you are somewhat involved with Charles Leclerc's personal finances, in which case maybe you would want to pay a bit of attention to your boy, right? Because, I mean, I don't know how much the bonus might be, but hopefully for him, he gets it, because, it could be significant. I don't know if Lando gets a bonus for P2 in the Drivers' Championship. Maybe he does. If he doesn't, then maybe it's a matter of Lando just, oh, look, Charles, we'll split the bonus if I just kind of let you pass, right? Then everybody wins, apart from Fred Vasseur. So don't tell Fred that I've suggested that, because otherwise, otherwise it might come back to bite me. There we go. Right, Max is now in gold, as he should be. Well done, Max. Lovely jubbly. Stroll versus Ocon. Who you got, Tomo? Oh, the Titanic battle, the Strocon battle. 24 points to 23. Somehow, I actually do think Esteban is probably the more likely to score a point, but will he score a point? And if he scores a point, will he be ahead of Lance? Will Esteban have a higher best finishing position? These are the questions that nobody, apart from Lowell, is asking. But here we are. Here we are, okay? Here we are. There's quite a lot of discourse, wasn't there, about the whole Carlos Sainz, Charles Leclerc thing. I was actually going to do a video. That was going to be my main video for this week. Talking about Leclerc versus Sainz. Kind of looking at all the instances where they've kind of tripped up over each other throughout their time as teammates. And obviously then the Cadillac news drops. And I was like, you know what, no, got to talk about drivers for Cadillac. So that took precedent. But yeah, I think Leclerc Sainz is an interesting dynamic, isn't it? I'm not surprised it's kind of gone a bit downhill. There have been, touch points over the course of their time as teammates, but not really until this year where it's kind of got a little bit feisty. I mean, you look at Monza last year where I think Carlos was over the line, like in his defence when he locked up and went straight on and he was on the inside and Charles had to get out of it. I mean, Charles was very afterwards he was very game's the game, it's good racing. That's what he was actually quite accepting, if not quite complimentary of Carlos, even though I think that was very much on the edge. But that was last year, 2023, fighting for a podium for Ferrari at Monza. But this year, where Carlos has been, he essentially got sacked by Ferrari, but still got to drive a whole season for him. I think he's done an incredible job for him. And I don't begrudge Carlos in the slightest for prioritising himself above anything and everything. And that includes Charles Leclerc, that includes the team, to be honest, because Carlos might never get on a podium again. That is a very, very real possibility. It doesn't matter how talented you are. If you're not going to get in the machinery, and Williams doesn't look like it's going to give him competitive machinery anytime soon, there is no guarantee Carlos Sainz gets anywhere near a podium again. I mean, look at how good Nico Hülkenberg is, and he's still never got one. So any opportunity Carlos can take to get a podium, I think he's absolutely got to take it. He owes it to himself, I don't think he'll have any regrets looking back. And if that means he acts a bit selfishly, which even then, I think in Vegas, it was, Charles was slow out the pits, obviously on cold tyres, and Carlos just kind of drove past him, and it wasn't even really like an overtake, was it? It was just in a straight line because Carlos obviously had his tyres up to temperature. And I just think Ferrari kind of ended up miscommunicating so badly that they ended up annoying both of their drivers. But there we go. They're my thoughts and feelings on it. I think maybe Charles does need to unlock that dog in him somewhat, that selfish dog in him. He said, didn't he? I think he was speaking to that Sky Sports Italia or something. And they were like, he was like, yeah, I'm just going to drive for myself now for the future. And obviously with Charles, with Lewis coming into Ferrari, Lewis it's kind of now or never for Lewis if he wants to get that 8-4 title and do it at Ferrari. So Charles Leclerc should be cognizant that, Lewis, at Lewis's core, he is a fierce competitor. Just watch the, Rosberg, Hamilton years from back in the day, right? That fierce competitor. And Lewis was the one more known for his aggressiveness as a junior than Nico. That was one of his biggest strengths, So yeah, I think Charles needs to be cognizant of that. As much as I think Charles will definitely have the edge over Lewis in one lap pace, I think Lewis is still showing in race pace is still a menace, because race pace isn't reliant so much on the absolute optimum one lap ability. It's everything else, and Lewis still has all of that. I do think Lewis has lost his absolute cutting edge, but over the course of a race, I think that doesn't matter so much. And we saw that with, Raikkonen was a good example. Raikkonen talked at length about, losing that one lap pace, but still being able to deliver in races. And I think it's going to happen to everyone eventually. But I think if Ferrari can give Lewis the car, he's going to give Charles something to think about in the race. Lewis just needs to find out how he can unlock consistent qualifying performance. Because if he qualifies like he's done this year, next year in Ferrari, he's going to have a hell of a mountain to climb every single Grand Prix, And yeah, tyre management, exactly. Tyre management is incredible, Lewis. I think wheel to wheel, he's fantastic. It's just that little. I still rate Hamilton more than Leclerc in race pace. Yeah, I mean, Patrick, I think that's fair. I also think that Lewis is coming into a Ferrari team that, you know, it's Charles' team. You know, Charles has been there for a long time now. So I think that's going to be Lewis race pace in a Mercedes versus Lewis race pace in a Ferrari. Is he going to be able to get on top of the nuances required to drive that car quick enough? You know, that's the question. Because Lewis has been quick in, you know, all the generations since he started in 2007. He's never been slow in a generation of car. He's always adapted, you know, eventually. Would he be able to adapt to the nuances of this Ferrari going into 25 and then a regulation change again in 26? You know, there's a lot of unknowns. But anyway, I've got massively sidetracked here. And those are the driver standings. That, again, doesn't really matter now because Max has wrapped it. Constructors is obviously where the intrigue is. McLaren, 24 points ahead of Ferrari. And then McLaren are also 53 points ahead of Red Bull. Now, of course, Checo needs to step up if Red Bull are going to eclipse Ferrari. Do I expect that to happen? No. I think also, at the end of the day, look, Max has got the Drivers' Championship. McLaren versus Ferrari for the Teams' Championship. Red Bull get a bit more ATR. They get, the difference between finishing first and third is an extra 10% ATR. You know, every little helps, right? Every little helps. The battle for P6 is interesting. Obviously, I think Haas, they're 1 point ahead of Alpine, and then they are also 4 points ahead of Racing Bulls. So there's 4 points split in P6 to P8 in the Constructors. I think the money, as far as we know, the differences in prize money between P1 and P2 is the same in difference in prize money between P9 and P10. It doesn't exponentially increase or decrease. But Haas, I think, would find that money, whatever it is, whether it's 10, 15 million dollars, euros, pounds, whatever it is. I feel like to Haas, that money is exponentially more valuable to them than it is McLaren, Ferrari, Red Bull, who are already operating at profits. You know, they don't need that cash. They're all hitting the cost cap anyway. Any money that additional money you can generate is always going to go towards stuff that's outside the cost cap. Investing in your infrastructure, which obviously Williams have talked a lot about. I think P6. Let's do a little poll. Let's do a little poll with you lovely people here live on YouTube. Who will win the battle for P6? Will it be Haas? Will it be Alpine? Or will it be Racing Bulls? I'll put Williams in just because I can do 4 options on a YouTube poll. I mean, look, Alpine had a shock result out of nowhere at Brazil. Maybe, Franco Colapinto wins. Look, stranger things have happened, I guess. Kind of. They kind of haven't they? Billy, last time I asked what's your go-to crisps, solid choice cheese and onion. Now, what's your go-to chocolate? You know what? I'd say just in terms of my favourite basic milk chocolate is, they're so good, right? At M&S, you get these buttons, these milk chocolate buttons. They're quite big as well. I think they're I think they're £3 a pack now, actually. I swear they used to be £2. Maybe they're, I can't remember. So good. That is optimum milk chocolate. That is premium optimum milk chocolate right there. Hope that's a satisfying answer to your question. In terms of a chocolate bar, I don't know if you define it as a chocolate bar, but there's something about Kinder Bueno that is just the OG Kinder Bueno. Unbelievable. Toblerone is goated. That actually, in a previous line of work, I used to work for an agency where Toblerone were our client, and I used to take pictures of Toblerone for their social media feed. That was actually my job. Obviously, that was one of the clients that I did stuff for. I wasn't just working on Toblerone, but we had loads of Toblerone in the office. All of it was off, obviously, because you're just taking pictures of it. But yeah, there you go. There's a bit of Toblerone what's it, lore. There's some Tommo lore around Toblerone for you. Yeah, I'm sure if you go on Toblerone's Instagram and scroll back far enough, there'll still be pictures there that I would have taken. So there you go. Yeah, Mondelez was back in the day. This was a long time ago. This was back in. This was 20. When did I start working there? It was end of 2016. I want to say like 2017 to like 2018. That's when I'd have been working doing that. There you go. Bosh, lovely jubbly. But yeah, the team standings are certainly the interesting one. Now we know Max has won the championship. The kind of focus and the attention goes back on this. And you know what? This is the most excited I've been for a Constructors' Championship fight in a long time. And you know what we need this weekend? We need a clutch Sergio Perez performance to take this to the finale. What we need is a Red Bull 1-2. Because then that makes Abu Dhabi for the Drivers' Championship, the Teams' Championship, mad interesting. Thanks for reminding me, Foon. Thank you for that. That makes it so interesting, right? Now, of course, is that unlikely? Unfortunately, that does seem quite unlikely. I'm not full of hope for Checo around this circuit, I can't lie. But, again, stranger things have happened, okay? Stranger things have happened. So... oh, dearie me, Checo. Come on, Sam. Pull it out. You can do it. Right. Tommo's predictions, followed by yours. My race winner for the 2024 Qatar Grand Prix. We're talking about the Grand Prix here. I will do a post-sprint Chinwag, by the way. Don't you worry. Post-sprint Chinwag. Well, actually, will I? That's the plan. I might not be able to, but I'm planning on doing one. I don't know if I've actually got anything that I'm doing, like in just... life on Saturday. No, I think I should be able to do it. Yeah, I should be able to do a post-sprint Chinwag. So be sure to subscribe, follow, rate, do all that stuff so you know when it's going live, right? My race winner for the 2024 Qatar Grand Prix is Lando Norris. And it's a picture of Oscar. What? Why is it a picture of Oscar? What? I know they sound similar on the radio, but that's definitely a picture of Oscar Piastri. Why? Oh no, it's good. Right, okay. You're just gonna have to ignore this because I am an idiot. Okay, how are we gonna? The problem is, right. So many of you now. Well, look. I'm not even looking at I'm not even looking at the screen, and I can just see all of the comments. I can just see them all like going up and up and up, ticking up, and I'm just like, okay, we're gonna try and I'm not gonna go through and change every single graphic one at a time because I would have to do that to completely fix it because I'm a fool. But what I can do is this. Bosh, there we go. Okay. Ignore the red. Ignore the red. Okay. Race winner Lando Norris. Race winner Lando Norris. I think McLaren are going to be back on it this weekend. Qatar should suit their car. The temperature is much warmer than it was in Vegas. It should work for what inherently their car needs to perform and succeed. Obviously, Oscar performed very well last year around here as well. But I think Lando is going to be the guy who takes the race win on Sunday. But what about your predictions? I had that as well. 506 of you voted. Thank you for voting. Sorry I didn't post the poll sooner. I literally posted it like midday, something like that. So, yeah, that's why there's only 506 of you. But 506 of you is still very valid. So thank you very much for voting. I do appreciate you taking the time to engage with these streams, right? Because having your opinions and thoughts is way more interesting than just my stupid ones, okay? Your race winner... 33% of the vote, Lando Norris. 29% of the vote, Oscar Piastri. 16% of the vote, Charles Leclerc. 8% Max Verstappen. Again, this should cater towards what works in that McLaren. Remains to be seen. Remains to be seen. Well, maybe, Lauren, maybe that was it. Maybe that was the universe communicating to me that Oscar will win, even though I tried to type Lando Norris. But we'll see. We'll see. Again, Oscar's had a bit of a blip in form. I think he obviously went round here very, very well last year. Yeah, because this was round 17, I want to say, last year. Where obviously now it's round 23, so a little bit different. But yeah, obviously for Oscar to do so well around here last year in his rookie season, it bodes well for this year. But either way, I think the McLarens are going to be on smoke this weekend, and so do you. Right. Banger drive for me, Yuki Tsunoda. Yuki Tsunoda, I think, is on a good run of form as of late. I think maybe does he see an opportunity? Look, he knows he's going to get this postseason test with Honda, with Red Bull via Honda. Honda have facilitated it. I don't know, mate. I feel like I'm feeling good about Yuki's end of year. I feel good about Yuki's end of year, you know. McFillin, no, you're copying me, McFillin. You're copying me, okay? I think Yuki's going to cook. I think he's going to be on smoke this weekend. For me, Yuki Tsunoda, banger driver. As for you, Oscar Piastri, as always, banger driver. 17% of your votes went to Oscar. 11% Pierre Gasly. 10% Yuki, so 1 in 10 of you see the Yuki coin. Respect it, invest in it. Cash it. Don't cash it in yet because it's still increasing in value. Okay. And then 9% Lando Norris for banger drive as well. Again, respect for Pierre. Pierre's had a good run. Obviously, bad engine, but that's 5 Q3s in a row where at least one Alpine has made it, including sprint qualies. So that bodes well. And I do think Alpine will do well. It's just that... Did you hear about what it was? So Pierre was slipstream in behind Yuki, and the engine was in 8th gear, full RPM, and just went kaput. So a lot of people are saying that essentially Yuki slipstreaming is what destroyed Pierre's engine. Now, obviously, that would be very Viri behaviour, to have your engine blow up because it's going too fast. But maybe. How are the Aston Martin stocks looking, Tom? I don't want to look, Avkid. I don't want to. In fact, have I sold my Aston Martin stock? No, I didn't, because they were so down because I put a little bit of money into Aston Martin stocks, and then it went down like 90%. I thought I was getting in at the bottom. It turns out it could get worse. You know the Mick McCarthy meme? It can't get worse, can it? It can. So I'm just, holding it out to see, what happens. Never invest in a stock more money than you're prepared to lose, okay? Or you can accept losing, okay? Because it can be a dangerous game if you're not careful. Fortunately, I didn't go crazy with it. And, we'll see, all right? We'll see if the Lawrence Stroll master plan eventually by 2048, gives them a world title, then I'm sure the stock price by then will be a bit better, and maybe I'll make my money back. But we'll see about that. We will see about that. Anyway, your race winner, Lando Norris, your banger driver, Oscar Piastri. Clanger driver for me, Checo. I'm not confident about Checo this weekend. I'm really not. Like, it feels like this kind of track as well, in particular. It's a lot of high-speed, medium-speed corners. I think this is going to be a real struggle for Checo, to be honest with you. Like, I mean, he went out in Q2 last year, which is not good. And in the sprint shootout, he was P8. So, and in the sprint race, he obviously retired because of that free wide incident. And then in the main race, he finished 10th. So he got 1 point, which... well done, I guess. Thank you, Mitt Sevo, by the way, for joining Friends of Tom. I appreciate that. I just don't think he's going to have a good weekend. I'd love him to, Red Bull 1-2. Red Bull 1-2, please, because then we get an unbelievable showdown for the Constructors' Championship in Abu Dhabi. But I don't think that's going to happen. Your clanger driver is also Checo. Sorry, Checo. 26% of the vote, 14% for Lance Stroll, 9%, how dare you, I'm repping, how dare you, 9% Lewis Hamilton, and 8% Lando Norris. There you go. We've got 2 out of two. No, we haven't. Yeah, we've got two out of three the same so far. Even though I used the wrong Lando Norris head. Okay, details. Banger team for me, McLaren. Again, I think they're going to be. I think 1-2 McLaren is probably the safest bet this weekend. The chance of nothing unlikely happening is in itself unlikely. So who knows, right? But I feel like that is a pretty safe bet. Good McLaren pace, pretty comfortable 1-2 for them. I wouldn't say comfortable, but I think they'll be good value for it. And then your banger team, also McLaren, 48% of the vote, and 17% Ferrari, 10% Mercedes, 9% Haas. Not much. I mean, Ferrari, Mercedes, Haas. I think Mercedes is a rogue pick. And I know last time we predicted, I know I was very wrong about Vegas because it was so cold and they were fine, but it's not going to be really cold in Qatar, okay? It's not going to be really cold in Qatar. So, but we'll see. I was wrong last time. I'm very much prepared to be wrong again because I've got Mercedes clanger. I've not learnt from my mistakes. No, look, I think given the extremity of temperature, and I mean, they were running right in Qatar last year, to be fair as well. That's why Lewis went so aggressive at the start, and obviously George was starting on the front row as well. But no, I think this is going to be, yet again, I don't think Mercedes is necessarily going to be slow, but I think that McLaren are going to be faster than them. I think Max in his Red Bull will be faster than both Mercedes, and I think both Ferraris will be faster than both Mercedes in these more normal conditions, mid to low 20s. But we'll see. Okay, I'm putting myself out there, and sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. Okay. And then your clanger team is Aston Martin, with 24% of the vote, 19% Mercedes, 12% Williams, 11% Sauber. Like again, Qatar last year was when Aston was still all right. Fernando finished 6th in the race, which is pretty good. And didn't he qualify? No, to be fair, he didn't qualify. He qualified 4th for the main race as well, did Fernando. So this was back when they were still somewhat cooking at Aston Martin. Now, the pot's boiled over, the fire alarm's gone off, the dog's pooed itself, it's all gone wrong. It's all gone Pete Tong. So not Minton, obviously, he's still just a kip down there. But there you go. They're your predictions. And so Lando Norris race win, Oscar banger, Checo clanger, McLaren banger, Aston clanger. And my predictions, Lando race win, banger Oscar, clanger Sergio, banger McLaren, clanger Mercedes. We will see how it goes, won't we? Lovely jubbly. Still waiting for the 33. There you go. Do you think Seb joins GM in 2026, Milan? No, I don't. I don't believe Seb's going to get back into F1, to be honest. Unless it's in some kind of stewarding or race directing. Maybe not race direct. I'm sure he could train up to be a race director, definitely. I'd want to see Seb have a bit more, like, if you're going to give Seb like a race director job, like let him do like junior formulas first, just to kind of find his feet. I don't think that's the best job for Seb. I think more of a stewarding position would be ideal for Sebastian Vettel, or some kind of FIA, GPDA, working with them somewhat, that'd be kind of cool. But there we go. Bosh, lovely jubbly. Right, happy days. Let's go back to the main screen. And anything else you want to cover briefly? Obviously, this is going to be the first weekend since Cadillac was announced as a F1 team for 2026, which is cool. So obviously, a lot of the questions are going to be around that. What was different about this entry? Is it just that Michael Andretti is not involved? Realistically, no. Obviously, there's been a lot of movement in the... obviously, Greg Maffei, is that his name? Greg Maffei? Has left FIM or Liberty's, involvement in Formula One. He was part of it. He stepped back. Obviously, Marco Andretti stepped back. There's been a lot of moves within the FIA as well. Obviously, the whole thing going to Congress, Andretti's thing going to Congress, like, how involved is that? We don't know. Maybe we'll get some answers to that. Maybe we won't. It's, it literally says in the thing, it's Cadillac partnered with TWG Global, which Andretti is part of. So Andretti are literally part of it. It literally does say it, that they are part of it. It's just not in name so much. And obviously you've got got old Mario as a little figurehead, which is nice. He put out a really nice tweet, didn't he, about it? It was like, oh, it's just warms his little heart to be involved in F1 in this kind of capacity. It was kind of cool to see. When will Ben Suliem quit? Yeah, I mean, it's no smoke without fire, and he seems to have a lot of people against him. And his approach, it's a shame that you can't. It feels like we do need someone who can lead the FIA, who really has that mutual respect, I think, to and from the drivers and the broader sport. And I just don't think anyone respects MBS, and I think he doesn't respect a lot of people either. So I think it kind of goes both ways. Cashinero, thank you very much for the super chat. Alex Palou is so underrated and it pisses me off. Well, yes, I mean, look, 3 out of 4 IndyCar championships in the last 4 years. I did actually make a mistake in my video yesterday. He did do an FP1, didn't he, Alex Palou, last year, but it was so low key. He only got like 21 laps in, and it was pretty low key. So I actually completely forgot about that. So that's my bad. But yeah, I think Alex Palou absolutely should be a contender, surely, for that seat. Right, surely. I mean, he wants to be in F1. That's the thing. He'll be 28 by the time the 26th season starts. So that'd be cool. That would be cool. Isn't the tenure 4 years? Yeah, I mean, I don't actually know, Tomato. That's a good question. Is it 4 years? And then obviously, because what's his name? Sean Todd was in that role for more than 4 years, right? Didn't he get like a couple of terms, like 8 years, maybe something like that? I don't know. I can't actually remember. I hope Joe gets points. Me too, Wikipedia. Me too. I'd love to see Joe go and you get points. Although I think Bottas deserves the points more, but I think Bottas also has more of a clear route back to F1 than Joe does. I think Bottas might not get back to F1 ever, to be honest. I think it's just age is going to work against him for being picked up. But you never know, right? You never know. They've both got a super license, so you can never fully write it off, can you? I'm curious why people think IndyCar drivers are going to be more competitive than other single-seater drivers like Super Formula F2 or even FE, Jeff. Well, I think a big part of the reason why a lot of IndyCar drivers are being associated with this seat is because it's Cadillac, it's a US brand. So, and obviously Andretti behind the scenes, and they've obviously got an IndyCar team. They also have a Formula E team, but I think there is a understandable desire that IndyCar deserves more acknowledgement than it gets from a FIA points, super license points standpoint. I would also argue that I do think it is the most competitive open wheeler series in the world. When you look at the variety of tracks they race at ovals, they race at street circuits, they race at purpose-built tracks, all over the US and Canada. There's a lot of diversity in the styles of tracks you race, and I think that means that, and you obviously get certain drivers like, Takuma Sato's, for example, who will just compete in the Indy 500, but then you get a lot of the drivers who do compete in everything. Obviously, Joseph Newgarden's won a couple of Indy 500s now. He's there every single race. You've got Scott Dixon, you've got Will Powell, you've got a lot of established older drivers who never made it to F1, and you feel like they had the talent to do so. How physical the IndyCar is versus an F1 car, or even versus a Super Formula or an F2 car. They're very, very physical cars. I feel like the competitiveness of the series, in terms of the variety of drivers you get going over there, from a variety of different backgrounds and not just Americans, like it's a real smorgasbord of different nationalities represented in IndyCar. And it is a spec series. Obviously, yes, Chip Ganassi have had a bit of a stranglehold on it for a long time now. Just like in F2, no spec series is truly spec. It'd be the same as Super Formula, right? Team Toms, like they'll be, they're always up there. That's why they partner with Toyota, don't they? And I think it's Mugen, isn't it? Mugen with Red Bull over in Super Formula. But I think, with Super Formula, it's a much more... Obviously, all of the tracks are purpose-built tracks. You've not quite got that same diversity of track styles. The Super Formula cars are closer to F1 cars, for sure. That is definitely a thing. And obviously, Alex Palou's race Super Formula, Pierre Gasly's race Super Formula, Liam Lawson. Tad Pourchaire's done a bit as well. I just feel like IndyCar for me, and then obviously Formula E is they're very different. They're four-wheel drive cars now, aren't they, as well, right? And they've obviously got a lot of ex-F1 drivers. I just feel like Indy, to me, is the most outside of Formula One. I think if you win IndyCar, I am personally more impressed by that. I'm more impressed by a driver who wins IndyCar, given the length of the season, given the variety of tracks, given the quality that you're up against. Scott McLaughlin, like so many names you can like put out there, than I would be a Super Formula or a Formula E champion. Like, and if I was making a decision for a driver for an F1 seat, as much as the Super Formula cars are closer to F1 than even F2 cars, you know, F2's essentially is a bunch of juniors, whereas IndyCar, you've got really established long-term drivers. I feel like Indy is where I'd look for a driver who can, you know, really get behind these ground effect, big, heavy cars as well, right? They're not as nimble as they used to be, F1 cars. And if anything, that moves them more towards the Indy style of driving that's needed. That's a long way of giving an answer to your question. What can I say? When you look at Pallou's driving style compared to Pato and her, it fits F1 so much more. Pato and her to chop and saw at the steering wheel, which is cool to watch. Palou is smooth and calculated. Yeah, I mean, look, these current ground effect cars do seem to require a more smooth input, which is going to inherently... I always look back at when Jenson Button talks about his 2012, I want to say, when he was alongside Lewis at McLaren, and how they, you know, both finished... They're 3 years together as teammates at McLaren. They ended up with a very similar number of points overall. But had very different ways of going about it, very different ways of extracting performance from the same car. Lewis was much more aggressive on the pedals and on the steering wheel. Jenson, smooth on both. Lewis, you know, aggressive on both. Yeah, these ground effect cars, obviously, because you want to keep that, you know, that floor as parallel to the ground as possible to maximise the ground effect. You don't want the car to be lurching so much, right? Which is obviously why that anti-dive suspension is a thing. So then it's a matter of, okay, cool. Well, yeah, you have to then drive it in a way it needs to be driven. And I think even you look at Fernando Alonso, you know, back in the day, he would, you know, he'd like induce understeer by like smashing the wheel in to like induce understeer, and then use that to, you know, he had a really unique way of going about it in his Ferrari years in particular. And yeah, maybe Pallou's inherent approach would fit more. And I think these are the kind of things that a prospective F1 team like Cadillac should be really looking at and trying to maximise, you know, exposure to these drivers to see if they can drive a modern ground effect car. It's all well and good. You know, for example, Colton Herta did some laps. He did 2 days in Portimao in 21 in an old McLaren. But, you know, that was a pre-ground effect car. And obviously, Pato has done mileage in a ground effect McLaren. So has Palou. So I feel like there's data there to make an educated decision, you know. But yeah, I think Palou would be an amazing shout. I do think O'Ward and I think Herta would also do a great job if they were offered the opportunity. You've got to say Palou has done the most to merit it. If you're going to promote someone from IndyCar, he's won it 3 times in the last 4 years. He's done everything apart from win the Indy 500, which I didn't mention in the video. But you know, he's won 3 out of 4 championships, and he was 5th the other year, so he was still pretty competitive. But yeah, no, I think I'm excited to see what Cadillac do. I think there's a lot of options, and I think I'm excited to see who they bring to the table. Because even if they don't go for an American driver, if you bring someone over from Indy, you're going to bring a lot of Indy interest over as well with them. So yeah, I'm excited to see. Right, cool. I'm going to wrap this stream now. Thank you all for watching. Again, make sure if you want to engage a little bit more in about 10 minutes time to go and support me on Patreon. Over on Patreon, you can, the medium and hard tiers are over there on Patreon, and you can watch along. You can, got a little community tab I'll chuck pictures of Minton on there occasionally and have little chats about whatever. But yeah, if you want to support what I do over on there, you can. I do have a bit of a sore throat, Martin. How did you know? The vocal cords are struggling somewhat, but we'll carry on having a little chat over there while I process and upload this to Spotify. So yeah, thank you all for watching. Appreciate you all taking the time. Don't forget again, like the stream, leave a comment, subscribe, rate 5 stars, however you're consuming this. Thank you, Patrick, Thomas, BW, Isis, Ajinkya, F1, Av Kids. Oh yeah, and also who wins the battle for P6? Haas, 64% of the vote. Alpine, 20%. Racing Bulls, 13%. Williams, 3%. Haas, pole position for that. We'll see. My name's Tomo. Thanks again. Have a good one. Ta-da.